as his official portrait the photograph of him at 9 years old. So this shows that sort of dedication of the mayor and of the museum. The Albuquerque Museum is now the second most visited museum in New Mexico, second only to the New Mexico Museum of Nature and Science across the way. So this presence of this facility serving our local community very much is dedicated to that vision that Mayor Baca had, and that vision that Jim Moore, our former director, had to serve the people of our community and the people of New Mexico. It is now my great pleasure to introduce our current mayor, Mayor Tim Keller, who will make this official dedication. It's a great honor to have you all here.
Well, thanks so much, Andrew, and I love that story of that letter, Jim. That just is one mayor to another, like, what a great mayoral idea. And I was almost 9 when you did that, so so I was probably 19, close. But you know, I think first off, we want to welcome. We have all our city directors here. Those are the folks, as well as the museum staff and a sprinkling of mayor's office folks. So. We're just excited to celebrate this moment with you, and also we'd like to reflect a little bit on the things that folks who came before us have accomplished and what they've done, really to inspire us for that opportunity we have each and every day to try and also do amazing things for the next generation. And so we appreciate being here together with you and family and friends for this special dedication. Now, I think Jim and his friends know that his own background, but for our directors, I want to do a little bit of biography, just in case folks don't remember Jim. But let me just do a show of hands. How many of you were here when Jim was mayor? Look at that. So obviously the folks up front, but Jim, you can't see in the back. There's at least 15 folks behind you who were there, still at the city when you were there too, which is really cool, including some of our officers, our deputy chief I saw back there, our fire chief. You probably signed their signature actually when they got through the academy, or you signed their certificate. But you know, Mayor Baca, of course, was the 27th mayor of Albuquerque as we now count. That probably makes him around 60 plus something or other selected leader for the city of Albuquerque, if you go way back to the alcalde system. And he really, I think, in my mind, was famous for 3 things. Number 1, a very good sense of humor. And number 2, he was dedicated and passionate about the key things that he thought were the right thing to do. One was investing in the arts. We heard a little bit about him championing the museum's expansion and the exhibits and the programming. And I think the other one was our land. So this was certainly part of his mayoral efforts, but throughout his career, whether it was an appointee under President Clinton as BLM director, or it was our New Mexico Commissioner of Public Lands, there are lands all over New Mexico that are now ours as a community because of his leadership. And so the other thing I do want to mention for our team is he also tried to put the stadium downtown. And like me, didn't get it done. And so someday, well, some mayor will get that one done, but I mention that because it's still a good idea. And it was actually an old idea that he really cooked up, and we tried again, and who knows what will happen in the future. But just a note, I think, in each one of those cases, to thinking large, to thinking about the next generation, thinking about how our families can have places to gather, whether it's outside in our open spaces or whether it's inside in places like a stadium or a museum. That's really, that notion of community and family, I think, is signature Jim Baca. So we're going to dedicate this lobby to him, and I think what we'll do is I'll invite you up in just a moment, Mayor, and we'll unveil this, and then we're excited to hear from you today. So you get the final closing remarks. But I want to end with one story. You know, in many ways, without him even knowing it, he was an inspiration for me. And I think in many ways also the sort of, you know, I think high maintenance challenge that our now director Connors feels. So it's a known fact to Jim Moore that Mayor Baca was one of the first mayors to actually ever really pay attention to the museum in a meaningful way. So as folks recall from his administration, I heard these stories, Jim went down into the vault underneath and looked at the art. This is Mayor Baca and Jim Moore. They went down into the vault and really sort of were open to also personally that experience of art in our history. And at the time, it was well known that he was the only mayor who had really done that. And of course, that set me up later to constantly raid the vault for art for the mayor's office. And to consistently mess with everything in here and completely bother Andrew and try and micromanage his job. So I really appreciate you putting up with me, and I'm blaming my predecessor, Mayor Baca, for caring so much about the arts. And so with that, let's bring up Mayor Jim Baca, 27th Mayor of Albuquerque.
First, I want to thank my wife, Bobby, for putting up with my political aspirations for, golly, going on almost 50 years now. And whenever I would come home from the mayor's office after a particularly bad day, she'd be there to cheer me up and said, well, you screwed that one up, but this one's okay. So we have some former department heads here. I'll probably miss some, but Bob White, city attorney, Ples Glenn, who was the Parks and Recreation Director. Who else? Raise your hand. So we have, Connie Beimer, head of cultural affairs, and then assistant CAO. She's just completely working all the time. We've got a couple of longtime employees here that were always good friends, and now we share lots of information about each other's electric cars. That's Roland Pentilla and Peggy Caspar. And, all this stuff that was said today, I don't remember a lot of it, frankly. I'm going on 80 years old, but I do remember going through the vaults here and really understanding how important these kinds of facilities are to our children, mainly our children, because they learn both culture and history. And I was thinking last night about coming over here this morning, and something that I could say is controversial, because I always do that. But if you stop and think about how this place got built, you know who built it? A lot of immigrants built it. They may have been documented, they may not have been, but there are so many people in this city that have come from somewhere else and helped us make it better. And I don't want to ever forget them, okay? And I feel very good about the citizens of this city and what they're going to do if we have to protect them, because we're all in this together. This has always been deemed a multicultural city, and facilities like this represent that. So it's history, culture, art, and education of our children, which are so important, and this facility is a big part of that for this city. So I really appreciate the mayor doing this for me. I appreciate so much Jim Moore back there, who made me understand and took me down into the caves to understand this place, and what a treasure it was. So thank you very much, Mayor. And Bobby, stand up. Bobby's been my inspiration here. Come on, stand up, Bobby. And to sign off, thank you for all you public employees, your public servants. And we just wouldn't function without you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's do this. We want to certainly invite, especially family and friends, the sort of core group, come on up here for our unveiling. So, and because we're going to take a picture as Jim sort of unveils himself. And so, directors, just as a side note, hang out for a little bit, get snacks, drinks, food, and then we're going to have a wonderful short all directors meeting. I'm sure you want to skip that, but right inside. So we'll just head in there and it'll be a quick one today. Okay, so team Jim Baca, come on up.
I want to introduce also Rita Longino, who was on the museum committee and helped push all this through.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Get around. maybe there.
Okay.
Bobby, you want to come up? And so,
Rita, come on up here, Rita.
okay, now I'm going to arrange you two. Why don't you stand there? Because I have to actually pull this. Okay, there we go.
There we go.
Now, as you may remember, the funny thing is, for a minute, you got to look at the cameras. Then you can look at your own flag. Okay, so let's do a little countdown here. We all ready? If you want to scoop some folks get a bigger picture, come on up. Yeah. Come on. Okay, all right. So from 3 backwards. 3, 2, 1.
I really appreciate this, and I really appreciate you taking Monday off. Monday on your busy day. It's a holiday. You know, one of the secrets I had for you department heads is that we would have a weekly Monday morning meeting with department heads, but I would only stay 10 minutes, okay? And then I'd leave and they could fight all they wanted.